Today is February 22nd, 1991, Waynesboro Friday night open speaker meeting, and Howard H. from Connecticut will be speaking tonight.
Evening, everybody. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. My name is Bob. Before I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, the letters GMC meant to me General Motors Corporation. But today, I know they mean God makes coincidences. About a year ago, I had the privilege to share this anniversary meeting and introduce the speaker. And a couple of weeks back, I found out that the same speaker who spoke here a year ago would be coming through the area tonight on his way back from Florida up to Connecticut. He happens to be one of my sponsors. I have two sponsors, and between them there's 80 years of sobriety and toughness, real toughness. I happen to love both of them very, very dearly. I sat with one of my sponsors today in the Harrisonburg Mall, and once again I found out the love and the affection that we have here in the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, because we share with each other. We know how each other feels because we have felt that way too. I could speak at great length about the speaker tonight. He's a very dear friend of mine. I love him very much. I kid him that he travels thousands of miles to speak, but he won't go across the street to listen. But that's a lot of crap, because he does listen. And without any further ado, I'm going to give you Howie H. of New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you, Robert. Jack, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. I was here a year ago. If any of you want to walk out, it's okay, 15, 20 minutes into this. If I say something tonight that offends you, use it. It's probably the best advice you'll get all day. I'm a garden variety drunk. I get a little confused. I don't know how AA's working down here now. I mean, I'm sure it's going very, very well. But what's happened up in Connecticut is that we get people that stop drinking on Tuesdays, and they come to AA on Wednesday, and Thursday they go and fill out an application to become counselors. It's a little confusing. Marty Mann said once, who was the first woman alcoholic in AA, that it takes 5 years for an alcoholic's mind to really start clearing up. And of course, being the type of guy I was when I first got here, you know, I paid no attention to any of that. When I first got here, I was young and I was brash and reasonably handsome and blonde, crew-cut hair. I was telling Jim in the car that, you know, kids today say they're cool. If I was any cooler, I would have froze to death. I just come out of the streets of Brooklyn, New York, a couple of years before. I was known as an alcoholic. I was a hoodlum. I was a gangster. I was everything that was wrong with anybody in this world. And I was very cool. I wore peg pants, and I wore a hat that looked like an umbrella. I, at that time, had 15.5-inch biceps. I have tattoos. After me, if you'd like to see them, I'll show them to you. I had scars on my head and my face from brawling and fighting in Brooklyn, New York. I had all the attributes of being a problem drinker. I met a fellow today who works at a garage. Johnny, you here tonight? He had enough of you today, Bobby. You had enough to come. Nice gentleman. I told him a story about one of the guys back in New Haven that had trouble. He said to me one time, he said, "How?" He said, I need some money and I'm trying to sell my car. And he said, I just can't sell it. He said, it's been 4 months. And I should know better dealing with drunks, you see. I've been with them a long time. And I said, well, you know, how many miles you get on? I said, well, I have 200,000. I said, well, Johnny, I said, what you got to do? It isn't right. I said, but you got to go down and see my friend Sally there. You give him a half a ball, that's a half $100. And you turn the speed down back to 30,000, you'll be able to sell the car, right? He said, yeah, that's good. So he did his shtick, and I hadn't seen him in a while. I found him at a meeting one night. I said, how'd you do, Johnny? Did you sell the car? He said, who the hell wants to sell a car? I only got 30,000 miles on it. So, this is what you're dealing with. And, it's... Everybody thinks the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous got me sober. The Fellowship of Alcoholics didn't get me sober. The 12 steps of AA got me sober and kept me sober. What the Fellowship of Alcoholics did for me is your tremendous love and caring for me when I didn't care for you or any of you. I didn't like you. I didn't want to be near you, especially that one. And I hated you. And I stood in the corner and drank your coffee, ate your donuts, and went home. To hell with you. I looked at all those things that you have on all these walls. You're going to have to kind of rise up now. I spoke in Dallas, Texas, and they have clocked me at 250 words a minute as I start getting nervous. And in Gust, I'll go to 300. And I left Dallas with Hazel, that's my wife, who stayed home tonight. She said I had enough. And a guy called me from Dallas a week later. He said, Yankee boy, I want to tell you something. He said, he gave a hell of a talk down here. I said, well, Jesus, you congratulate me. He said, no, we didn't understand. It took us a week playing the tape to know what you're talking about. They just couldn't get down with it. You see, I'm quick. And so the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous brought me back here because nobody wanted me. Do you understand? I'm not going to tell you anything about drinking. You know how to drink. You're all professionals. You're all retired. Guys say to me, gee, I'm in here a day. Can I carry the message? Carry what message? You don't know anything. Carry a message to who? No, but you know what you can do? You can take the guy to the message. You bring the guy here. You don't go to him. What the hell do you know? You bring him here. They don't understand. They look at me like I'm crazy. And I probably am. See this watch? I love music. I really do. Someday when I retire, I'm going to go back into music. I did when I was young. Hazel got me a guitar. But like everything else, I hopped it and got drunk and never played again. This watch is probably worth about $89, you see. I got that from Reader's Digest. And there's a story there, so I get all the tapes and everything. And Hazel said, there he is again. He spent $88 on tape to get an $89 watch. And I mean, that's a joke with her. She laughs about this, but she's a good kid. So the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, you sit in rooms like this, and I see slogans like live and let live. And I looked at it, and I didn't know what it meant. And there's a guy sitting up here in the front, and he's celebrating his anniversary. And he said, kid, do you know what that means? I said, no. He said, it means mind your own business. And that was simple and right to the point. And then I looked at slogans like Easy Does It, one of Bob's attributes. He slowed down. He's down to about 90 miles an hour now. And I didn't know what that meant. He said, Howard, just slow down. Easy does it, but do it. And I said, well, that's nice. And I looked around, and over another wall, they said, but for the grace of God. And I could understand it. That's one thing I related to because I was one of these Irish Catholic kids that grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I had an alcoholic mother and an alcoholic father. I had a funny uncle, and, well, there were a lot of funny uncles in Brooklyn in those days. And, he got mixed up with his girlfriend for a few years when I was 8 years old. It does an awful number on your head. And so I grew up in a life of sex and violence and all the sickness that you can bring. And actually, the greatest friend I ever had was alcohol. You see, it was really my friend. I'll tell you why. It's very simple. If you take drugs and if you take heroin, you're not out on it. The only time you can really get high, you overdose on it. You can take the nose candy, stick it up in your nose, and by the time you feel good, you burn your nose out. You can do all these things. See, but alcohol never let me down. You see, every time that I wanted to feel real good and fill those terrible holes that were inside me that were so bad that I couldn't live with, alcohol always did the trick. And within 10 minutes, I could live with the world and live with people in it. And so I was saying to Bob today, it's probably heresy to say in an AA meeting. It's only my opinion. I stole some from Clancy in California and this one in Texas and that one. And we put it together and I say it the way I think it. It's not the opinion of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's my opinion. And somewhere in me, as a young boy, I just couldn't stand to live in this world we lived in. I wanted more than life itself when I used to go to that little Catholic school, and I'd sit there and I'd watch those brothers walk up and down that aisle that taught me, and they had that big robe on. It's 50 years ago, and and they had those rosary beads were so big, and I loved them so much. I loved them so much because I felt peaceful and I felt good in that school. You see, I didn't have to go back to that world. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just telling you how it was. I didn't want to go home in that world to the sex and violence and stealing and bigotry and all the hatred. And so I wanted to stay there, and I used to say in my own little mind that, my God, if I ever grow up, maybe I ought to be a brother because I like it so much. Or if I ever grow up, maybe I can get married and have a family, and maybe we can have nice kids and nice grandmothers and not all this fighting and drinking and sick. And I was a child, you see. I couldn't separate it. And I said, maybe someday that's what I'll have. You see, so I loved that, and I embraced that. So when I got to the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I saw, but for the grace of God, you see, I understood that. See, that was never a problem with me in AA, spirituality of AA. And, you know, they said to Abe Lincoln one time, they said, Abe, what do you know about religion? He said, I don't know anything about it. They said, well, what do you know about spirituality? He said, I don't know anything about that either. They said, well, what do you do know, Abe? He said, it's very simple. I do something good, I feel good. And when I do something bad, I feel bad. And I think that's what AA teaches us. And so, as I grew up in that world, I was given, like most of us in AA, many, many talents. And all of them I flushed down the toilet like everybody else in Alcoholics Anonymous. The other part of me that embraced so well and loved so much, I stood at the threshold of being a Major League ball player with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And I had the train tickets in this hand and the suitcase in the other. And I was 20 years old, my whole life was gone. Absolutely ruined. I ruined myself, my wife, my little girl. I ruined everybody that ever touched me in life. You see, I loved them so much, I choked them to death, you see. I choked them to death. And I stood there, and you know what I did? I was 20 years old. You know what a kid would do with something like that? I played with them all for 2 years. Mickey Man, all of them. I played with them all out west. You see, I was an alcoholic, you see. And I took those tickets, and I tore them up and never got in that train, you know. Never went. And I threw my life right down the drain. Not knowing that some year and a half later I was going to walk into the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's another miracle. And Jack said to me last night over dinner, he said, you know, I often wonder why the reason God spared me to get sober one day along. And I said, Jack, you know, I'm sitting here, and you know what I would say to you, Jack? Maybe one of the reasons is because I'm sitting here, and the other reason is because Wagner's sitting here. Did you ever think of that? That would be enough for a reason to get somebody sober in AA. And so all those dreams and all those things I wanted, I was all full of these holes all the time. You see, I was so uncomfortable all the time. And don't relate to me as far as booze goes. You know, it doesn't matter how much you drink, how long you drank. It doesn't mean anything, really. I know people drink 2 drinks, they get in trouble with themselves. They can't drink. That's all. I know people drink 2 quarts a day. They're not alcoholics. They get along. They get hanging. They're okay. It's what it does to people like me. You see, something's missing to me. So the deal here isn't alcohol. This has nothing to do with it. The deal is learning how to live every day in this world that we live in and fill the holes that I have to have filled with things that you tell me in AA so I don't go back and pick up that drink. You see, because I was in an awful spot. From the day I drank, I knew I couldn't drink. When I was 15 years old in the gutter already, I knew I couldn't drink, that I was a pig drinking, and I had big trouble when I drank. Because that was the only thing that took this football out of me and took it away and filled the holes. For a few hours, I didn't give a damn about anybody in this world. I didn't have to feel it. I didn't have to touch it. I didn't have to go home to it. The hell with it. It isn't alcohol. It's me inside. That's alcoholism. That's the sickness. Forget about the drink. That was something I could get out of this world with. Could have been anything. Doctor said to me one time, he said, honey, if you didn't drink and become an alcoholic, you would have been in prison or you've been in a nut house for the rest of your life. So I came here, and my problem tonight is not alcohol. I'm not drinking tonight. My problem tonight is the same as it was 39 years ago. I have to fill the holes and know how to live with myself and you out there. You're looking at somebody that walked in here, was incapable of loving anybody. I had no idea what it meant. And the only thing I ever thought about was love was the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying here. It was never sacrificial love. It was never doing something for somebody because you loved them, not that you want. I knew none of that. Absolutely none of it. The way I showed you I loved you is I bought you something. Or I gave you something. Never a love that with no strings attached. You see, and that's the wonderful part of this program, Alcoholics Anonymous. You walk in rooms like this, regardless of, you know, you're sitting here tonight, many of you are going to drink again. Many of you are going to die from alcoholism. Me included, if I don't fill those holes day by day, I am going to go back to drink because my life's too painful to live without alcohol. And so when I drank, I caused so much pain, I couldn't live with drinking. And I would get sober. And I don't know anything about drying out joints and B12 and needles and pills, uppers and downers, fire. They got Chinese firecrackers. I mean, I didn't know anything. When I stopped drinking, I died. In fact, I told Wagner I'm going to save the state of Connecticut a lot of money. They're closing all the drying out joints. They've been abused and used. People call me up and say, I had 2 drinks. Take me away. Take you where? Well, I got to go away for what? How long do you drink? I used to drink for weeks. Stay drunk for a week and call me. Don't cut it off at the pass. They're drunk for one day, you put them out, you put them away, they come out, you know what happens? They get drunk the other 6, they're not finished. You know, it's crazy. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do up there. I'm going to go to the legislature. I'm going to make my house a detox center on weekends. You know what? It don't cost you a dime. Don't cost you a dime. You go in the bathroom and you puke for 2 days. Why do you think God made the seats with the holes cut so the alcoholic don't break his neck when he's puking? It cleans you out. You don't have to worry. I hope you like me now after I said that I'm sensitive. And I feel rejection terrible. I really do. Sometimes you see a tear in my eye. Right. See, people never really knew Howard Hunt. You see, I smacked you once because I didn't want to let you know how afraid I was of you, see. And so I don't like to be rejected. A friend of mine in New York, big-time gangster, became an alcoholic and got sober 40-some-odd years ago. Always said it. He said the alcoholic will get sober in AA and he'll fill the holes of what you are teaching in rooms like this every day. He said, but the only hole will never be filled in our lives, never, and I don't care who you are. I've been with the best. I've been all over this country. I've been with doctors and lawyers and poor people and rich people and black people and blue people, and no matter who it is, nobody ever filled the hole of insecurity. Oh, they like to say they did not. We'll die with insecurity, alcoholics, if we really want to be honest with ourselves. And I don't care what kind of a job we hold. Somewhere inside of us, we feel different and we feel insecure. And when those days happen to me and I wake up some morning and I don't feel good and I don't really want to go in that office because, you know, I'm not feeling good today, and Hazel says, get up, Hal, and I put my finger out and I go like this, leave me alone. Nobody loves me today. Kids haven't called me in a week. And, you know, she says, get your ass out of bed, Hal, go to work. And, you know, it's the insecurity, it's these terrible ways I felt about people. Oh, my God. And so I would get drunk, and the pain was so bad, you see, because I didn't know the other stuff. I got an education there, it's marvelous. And so then I would have to get sober because, you know, regardless of what people think or read, nobody can stay drunk. I hear people say, yeah, Frank, stay drunk for 30 years. Nobody can stay drunk for 30 years. The most you can stay drunk is 14 days. After that, your body will not tolerate, will not allow you to be drunk any more than 14 days. That's proven medically. It cannot happen, so you have to get sober. And then I would get sober, and then that terrible pain again to live in this world. See, those holes were never filled up, and I couldn't deal with it. And when it got so painful for me again, I had to drink again because I had to fill the holes for that too, whatever. And so the deal here is not alcohol. The deal here is alcoholism. That's my sickness. And that's why 95% of all people in the United States of America can drink and 5 or 6% can't, because that 6% is the alcoholism part of it. So what I'm saying to you, if alcohol was the answer, if that was your problem and that's all you had to do, and I told Wagner a million times, if everybody that came to me of Alcoholics Anonymous, the only thing I had to do was stop drinking, nobody'd ever leave here. Nobody'd ever get drunk again. And I'll tell you why. If alcohol is the problem, then when they turn you out of a drying out joint, you're cured. And when they turn you out of rehab, you're cured. When they put you out of jail, you're fine. Know that you're not fine. You suffer from alcoholism. You suffer from the disease inside you that those holes are there. So you're not fine. You can stop the drinking. It don't mean one damn thing. The big book says it better. Relieve me of the bondage of self. If I forget, I am condemned to relive. And people say to me, how could that guy get... I had a guy in New Haven drunk, died within 3 months sober, 30 years. What happened? My God. 35 years, 25 years, 36 years I lost a guy drunk. What happened? He got away from AA and he didn't fill the holes anymore, you see. He didn't take this thing that you give people very freely every day in the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the holes became big again. He couldn't live with them anymore. See the pain. And so finally when the pain got too much, he had a drink and he died that way. And so the problem with Howard today is a living problem. If I pick up a drink, that's the extra problem on top of it. I can't drink. I'm an alcoholic. But my problem is living, one day at a time. And that's the whole problem. And you read this thing every night at an AA meeting. You go through the 12 steps. You go through the how it works. What does that say to you, how it works? It's very simple. If you read that and really study it and think about it, that tells you very precisely who gets drunk and who stays sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. Right off, it just tells you. There's no secret here. There's no secret. People say to me, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I go to all the meetings. That's right, really? Oh, you go to the meeting, so you remember. Oh, yeah. That's like telling me you go down and sleep with the chickens, you become one of the chickens. No, that is not the case. I become with you with a fellowship by a word. It's called action. I get off my can, I pick up your lousy cups, I clean your chairs, I take the broom, I do what I have to do. That's involvement, not just sitting there week after week and going like this, that is not being in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's crazy. But you see, all those problems I brought to Alcoholics Anonymous, the holes, I couldn't fill them. And I was all alone because nobody wanted me anymore. My wife didn't want me. I had a little girl 9 months old. She was too small, but who would want me? And then because they didn't want me, I said to myself, I must be an animal. There's something wrong with me. I'm sick and I can't get help. And what am I going to do? And I get drunk again. And then I get drunk and do these terrible things again. I had a bad habit with guns. It's a no-no, especially with people like me. And, it gets you in a lot of trouble. And then the remorse would come in, and I'd want to die. How could I do this to Hazel? How could I do that to my mother? Even my drunken mother, how could I do that thing? How do you get up and smack your father into unconsciousness on the kitchen floor because you're drunk and you're 17 years old and you hate for what he did with the women and everything, and you beat him, your own father, regardless of what he was my father. I can't live with that, so you know what I do to live with that? I go get drunk again. You see, I can't live with that pain and guilt. That's what happens to Alcoholics and Alcoholics Anonymous. We let these things slide by and we don't do anything about them, the rotten tempers and all the things we have, and all of a sudden we let that temper go someday and we do something, we feel so remorseful. You know what happens? You gotta get drunk over it because you can't live it. And that's why it says to me, Howard, you don't get mad at me, you try not to. Remember, easy does it. Mind your own business. And so I got here empty. Oh, people said to me, oh, this young kid, he came here, he's 21 years old, how lucky. And all the old timers, oh, I wish I got it. Schwartz, you say, oh, who you kidding? For Christ's sake, if they offer you, wouldn't want it anyway. Shut up, you didn't want to get here. And I was in that room at 21 years of age, and I looked around, I said, holy, a priest sent me there, me and Schwartz. And, must be busy, the Moses. I said, Jesus, I need help. I don't know what to do. My life's falling apart. We live in a room and a half. We have no money. We just have nothing, and I have nothing inside. I'm empty. I am spiritually dead. I have not the ability to love my wife the way she should have been loved, really. And she's not the Blessed Mother. But I've often said, and I often think about it, and I said it in the car tonight, and when I look back in retrospect, she was a nice Irish Catholic girl who went to Mass and Communion every morning. She lived in a household with 4 aunts, those bitches, and they didn't like me, and I don't know why. Of course, when they came home from work in the telephone company and heard my mouth on the corner, and the things I said to people, and I couldn't understand it. And thank God that woman, and I don't know why, and I think about it today, she might have been short a few cards herself because she fell in love with me. She didn't have both oars in the water either. I can't figure that out. And, she had the pick of the crop in Brooklyn. She didn't have to have the town hoodlum, the tough guy, or thought he was tough, but she picked me, you see. And Ann was laughing. I said when she got out of high school, when she met me, she had 2 bank books. First time she left me, she had 2 jobs. And, I took that woman all over this United States. And I abused her, never with my hands. I smacked her once drunk. But, of course, I put shotguns in her nose and up her ears. That's not hitting, so that's different with me. But anyway, no, I never was a wife beater to say. I used to say to guys, you want to beat your wife? Come on down the bar. I'll give you a couple of guys you fight, but not your wife. Let's get tough, okay? But anyway, I didn't know where to go. You see, I'm sitting in a meeting about Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm 21 years old, and I see a guy sitting there. It's him. And I see somebody sitting up there. It's a woman, beautiful woman. I mean, she was so nice, handsome and nice. If you ever saw the ones I wound up with, Typhoid Mary and, oh, Jesus. There used to be a little guy who used to drink up in Hartford, Frenchie. I say, Frenchie, well, how do you do it? How do you go in and drink and go home? He said, Howard, it's real easy. He said, you see Mary down the end of the bar? I said, yeah. He said, when she starts looking good, I go home. Yeah. I mean, I woke up in situations, 1 ear and no teeth, and I was not the season's catch. You got to understand this. The Brooklyn Dodgers got tired of me because I used to fight and brawl and get pinched. No sense of humor. Nobody ever appreciated me. They just didn't know how to get along with Howard. And I was really a nice kid. I really was. I was deep down a very good person, but I was full of all these holes, you see. I didn't know how to relate to people. I just didn't. I was afraid of, and I was inferior and all these terrible things. And I told a I'm getting sad thinking about him now. And I told a psychiatrist one time, why do you think I stood in the corner tonight? Because I'm basically a private guy. I'm a very quiet, private guy. That's my nature. It has nothing to do with my alcoholism. That's my nature. You know, Wagner, he can walk around with a phone hooked in his ear. I can't do it. I used to tell him, don't call me 3 times a day, Wagner. I don't want to talk to you, understand? I have nothing to say to you. Call me once a week. I swear to God, I'm telling the truth. You drive me nuts. What are you going to tell me 2 hours later? But you see, there's a reason for that. Aha. Ah, the nasty man. Oh, yeah. You see, they gave me a nickel when I came into AA, that guy sitting there with Schwartz. And you know what they said with that nickel to me? You'll get your feelings hurt today in AA? Oh, it's awful. They said, here, Hunt, here's a nickel. If you feel like getting drunk, call us. I said, can I call you anyway? No. We don't want to hear from you. I said, why? See, I was insecure. Why? They said, because you're a liar, Hunt. And if you call us on the phone, we don't know you're lying because we can't look at you. So don't call us. I walked around with a nickel. The poor soul, Jackie Gleason. Nobody to call. I'll tell you how nice they were. The other one who should have ran a concentration camp. Doherty, he was another winner. He was a Skid Row bum. One of the first men I heard talking AA. I said to Hazel, I ain't that bad. She said, you're worse. He don't stick guns in his wife's ear. See, there was no Al-Anon then. There was anything? No, nothing. No young people. Oh, no. All old. Gray hair, bald-headed, big stomachs. They used to stand up here and say, you want what we got. I used to say to Hazel, want what they got. I said, they're half dead, for Christ's sake. What do you think they stopped drinking for? Want what they got? Look at them. It was not easy. No. So, you know, I'll tell you. I called Doherty one day. I said, I feel like getting drunk. He said, really? I said, yes. I was the only young guy in Connecticut. You'd think they would at least treated me decently. And he said, where are you, Howard? I said, I'm downtown. I felt bad. Hazel went away without me that day. I was all alone. And he said, why don't you go over to the club, Howard? And I'll see you tonight. Breathe. Hung up on me. I'm walking downtown. Then I had an awful attitudinal problem. I don't know if any of you will understand this. They're called dry drunks. I don't know if you hear them. Ladies, if your husband comes home and he hates the world, the boss, you, the kids, everybody in the whole world, he feels sorry for himself. He's on a dry drunk. He's drinking, but he ain't drinking. Don't pay any attention to him. Don't even answer him, because he's crazy. At that point, he's crazy. He's drunk. Just let him go through. Worse than that, if they get sober in AA, and when they get to be 50 years old, if he comes home someday with a cowboy suit on and a big hat, he's going through the change of life. Don't pay any attention to him. Don't mean nothing. See, they taught me all these things. Oh, I met them, 55, and they wind up with a 30-year-old chippy because they feel old. 6 months for her, they really know how old they are. Now they're depressed because the old lady won't take them home anymore. I had the pleasure of sitting in Bill Wilson's twin room in 1950 up in Pond Ridge, New York. They brought me up to hear the truth. And he sat there for half an hour. You know what he did? Moaned about the mortgage he had. He's an alcoholic. He was crazy himself. And that's not heresy. I say that out of love. Bill Wilson sought help outside of Alcoholics Anonymous when he went into a depression for 7 years. He didn't want to live anymore. He's a human being, you see. And so then I would go down to the club and I would be very nasty and very mean, full of hostility and hate. And I would tell them what they could do with their clubhouse, what they could do with their wives and their kids, their big bellies, and everything else. But I'm tired of it. And you can take the slogans, you know what you can do with those? First things first. Stick it where the sun don't shine. Take that first. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Telling me that my life's unmanageable? How can you say that to me? I have no money, the car's broken, and we live in a rotten room and a half. What are you telling me my life's unmanageable? I went to jail, so what? And then they used to say, Howard, you seem so unhappy. And I'd say, I am. And I'm depressed. And Jack used to say to me, Howard, just go to meetings, don't drink, you'll be all right. And he walked away from me. And I would look at him go. And I would follow him like a little boy. What do you mean, Jack? Don't drink, go to meetings, you'll be all right. I'm 60 years old, I still get depressed. I go to meetings, don't drink, it passes. It's part of my nature, I don't do my alcoholism. Lovely, isn't it? And then Doherty said to me one day, Howard, you got an awful attitude. He said, why don't you go out and get drunk for a couple of weeks? I said, you want me to go out and get drunk? He said, yeah, it's good for you. He said, it's wonderful for humility. It puts everything in the right perspective. And if you don't die or get killed, then you'll come back. Simple. No big deal. Really. If you don't like it, here, go out and get drunk. What the hell do you want from me? We're not here to, you're not here because you're addicted to cornflakes. Do you ever see drunks? You know how we are? See, we have obsessions in our minds. One of the obsessions in my mind was that nobody can get along without me. Imagine that. We had water beds in 1950. They didn't even sell them yet. We had them. It's all right. You'll get it. I had to slow it down. I could see you staring. Told me to go and get drunk. So, I did. When I walked out of AA, I was there for 5 months, from August to December. I didn't take a drink. I didn't do anything. I didn't help anybody. Once again, I drank your coffee and ate your donuts and went home. And you know what I mean. And that was the end of the ball game. And I got drunk, and it's too long and too involved. I'd have you here till 10 o'clock at night. And I stayed drunk for a few days like I always did. I didn't once again know anything about pills and shots and drying out joints and all the rest of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not putting a knock on drying out joints. Sometimes they're needed. I just think they've been used as hotels. And easy, softer way. And I think one of the reasons, and once again it's my opinion, see, we used to sit with drunks all night long. You sit up all night long, go to work. After being up 5 o'clock in the morning, or a pot of coffee, back seats of cars, kitchens. I think sometimes people want nice shiny packages. Get them out of drying out joint, they're all set. They're 30 days sober, they got a nice suit on, they're lovely. We don't have to work with you, so you need nice packets. And I went out and got drunk, and I stayed drunk, and nobody called me from Alcoholics Anonymous. My sponsor, another sponsor, who died, came down the bar, he bought me a shot in the beer, and he said, get lost, kid, nobody needs you. Don't let the door hit you, we're on the way out. He said, we'll see, okay, kid. He said, AA's been going on here for 17 years, they're doing all right, they don't need you, honey. We had 14 meetings in the whole state of Connecticut. People tell me they can't get the meetings today. You can fall out of bed and be in a meeting today. Oh, yeah. I have some of them say to me, I can't be out late every night. It's 200 pounds, 6'2". Said, I get tired. Said, I got to have my orange juice and vitamins. Years ago, he's living on the streets. Got to get strong again. We got to feel good. I told Schwartz one night, I said, Schwartz, do you ever get tired? Now, Schwartz is 47 years old. I mean, he was an old man to me. But he never stopped going. He never slept, the man. Never slept. This one never slept. I don't know where they got the energy. And I said to Schwartz one day, Schwartz, do you get tired? He said, no. I said, why, Schwartz? See, I was a little stupid myself. He said, because, hon, when you're doing God's work, you can't get tired. And I said, nice, Schwartz. And I walked away. And about 6 months later, when I finally came back, I came back to AA and got sober through God's grace. And Hazel said to me one night, she says, Hal, she said, you look awful tired. I said, I'm not tired, Hazel. They're running my ass every night. No meetings. They're taking me to Long Island to speak. Hartford, here. We don't get home till 1 o'clock. If it's before 1, they don't even get out of the car because the joints are still open. No, I'm not tired, eh? She said, why? I said, because I'm doing something good. God don't let you get tired. It was awful. You don't understand. See, none of you understand. Only the guys have been around. The car rides alone, you found religion, believe me. You found spirituality. You found God. Yeah, you found God. Yeah. You see, Schwartz couldn't see, drunk or sober. There were no highways. He wasn't any better sitting there. Doherty didn't care one way or the other if he died or lived, because he lived in the streets all his life. Nobody cared. So Schwartz used to go up exits, entrances, snowstorms, ice storms, didn't mean anything. Where are we going tonight, Schwartz? Oh, we gotta go down Long Island. Schwartz, you know what time it is? Yeah, it's all right, we'll get there. All the way down Long Island to the nut house to talk. Go to a meeting down Long Island and walk in, 5 guys, there was 4 people there. The 5 guys spoke. 2 of the 4 were drunk. The other one's ready to go out and get drunk. Then that was bad. You see, your listening's going to miss out. And then you'd go home, and while they were driving the car, they would turn around and recite the steps. Schwartz would say, easy, fellas, and he's going off the road. I said, sure. Oh, don't ever mention tomorrow. Don't ever mention it. That was a cardinal sin. That was worse than shooting the Pope. And one night I forgot because I felt bad. And I said to Alexander, I said, Jack, tomorrow. He said, tomorrow? For Christ's sake, when I'm driving, when I get home tonight, get there tomorrow. So I used to sit there, and I didn't have any rosary beads, but I made believe I did, and I prayed to get home. Yeah. So it was part of this trip. And down in Texas, you know what they say to me standing up? They say, my name's Howard. I had my last name on January 15, 1950. I say stuff here. Right, why they got to say that? Well, they said it because they want to tell people in Alcoholics Anonymous, not to brag. There isn't anybody sitting in this room sober or clean tonight that it wasn't for the grace of God and AA. Not one of us. Not every one of us. Somebody lit a candle for you sitting here tonight. Don't blow it out. I've been in AA long enough to see them come here and get sober and stay sober for a year, 2 years, and 25 years, and leave this program of fellowship and die in the streets or come back 25 years later with nothing, no house, no kids, and living in stinking rooms downtown in Orange Street. Their house, their life is in shambles. They have nothing, and they can see the first time you get here, it's a gift. Second time, it's hard, you see. If you had trouble in Alcoholics Anonymous, do me a favor, always come back. You have no other place to go anyway, but always come back. We love you. We don't care. You steal our money, we just won't let you be treasurer anymore. You take care of the pamphlets. Oh, they steal the money. It's all right. Oh, yeah, they're drunks and thieves, most, and they steal the world. I had a guy stay drunk. His wife was an airline. She was the secretary of the treasury. He used to use the airline money to stay drunk. It was wonderful. He hoped she'd stay in forever. And, you know, as I said, we didn't get any Al-Anon. It finally came in 1954. Jack's wife, Teddy, and they had a new place to meet. It was Our Lady of Perpetual Revenge. And it was good. It really was. You see, the sponsors them are good, too. They used to tell Hazel, let him drop dead, make his own lunch, and if he gets fresh, don't even sleep with him. Oh, they've been lovely. I wasn't sleeping with her anyway. And I know it's hard today because you have to have relationships, and I love you, and I know that. I was married, didn't have a relationship. I was celibate, and I was married, and so was my client. And you see, I need love because I'm sensitive, and I'm insecure, and I'm an egomaniac, and I also have an inferiority complex. So one day when I'm drinking, I'm king of the world, the president of the United States, and then when I'm feeling bad, I don't even want to talk to the street cleaner because I feel inferior. The alcoholic, the holes, you see, they're all empty. We got to fill them up. And if you're sitting here tonight and you decide not to fill them up anymore, you will get drunk again. And you will get drunk again, you'll get drunk again, you'll get drunk again, so either you die or you wind up in an institution because there's no way out of it, you see. In 38 years, I've never seen anybody beat it, nobody. And I've seen the best of them. You ain't going to beat the booze, and you ain't going to beat the pills, and you ain't going to beat the coke up your nose or the thing in your arm. You ain't beating nothing, brother. You will die with it. You will start. And you know, I got news for you. You know what happens to people like us? We die alone, through the wife, the kids. Nobody goes with you. Bastards, they let you go alone. Nobody goes with you. You see, we're obsessed that this world can't get, you know, I'll get drunk, but it won't happen. And that's my obsession, you see, that I can do this and I'll get away with it, and we die alone, my friend. Nobody goes with you. And you know what? The old lady finds another guy, or the husband finds another wife, and the kids get along and they go. They don't need people like me drunk. But the world is full of enablers, as we all know. And I happen to know what I'm talking about because I had a kid on junk for almost 20 years in the streets of New Haven. And I mean junk. So this family went to hell and back, and to Bataan and back, and she went there too. So I know what it is to enable, I know what it is to cry, I know what it is to hurt, and I know what it is to not even want to live anymore after 17, 18 years sobriety, because this isn't supposed to happen in your life, you see, and it happened, you see. But you know what? They even closed Disney World at 10 o'clock, you know. I never promised you a rose garden. Nobody said it'd be easy. William James, the great philosopher and poet, said one time that save roses for December, and he meant precisely that Howard, on your good days and the things that treat you well in this world. You hold on to them and you save them, because when the bleak days come and the hurts and the tragedies in our lives, you will take those out. You will hold those and they will get you through, and he was 100% right. And so I finally got sober in the program Alcoholics Anonymous. Once again, not through the fellowship of AA, through the 12 steps and the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous that I've tried to embrace to the best of my ability for the last 38 years, one day at a time. I can't tell you it's going to be easy. I can't tell you it's going to be better. I can't tell you anything. I only can tell you that if you come to this program and you're serious about stopping drinking one day at a time, you will stop drinking one day at a time. If you are sincere about working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and doing something about the holes that you live with in your life, you will stay sober. If you do not do that, you will get drunk again. I'll make book on it. I'll write out a pad for anybody sitting in this room, and I don't care how big you are, and how smart you are, how tough you are. You will get drunk again, you will die again. So why should I be any different than anybody sitting in the meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous? It could be me tomorrow if I forget to fill the holes of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because alcoholism, that's the sickness, not the booze. The booze comes later. That's the sickness, and that's what people don't understand. They just don't understand that, and they go through their life, and they never understand that, and they get drunk time and time again. They just don't understand that. You got to fill the holes. There's something wrong with me. You understand? There's something wrong with me. I have to take care of that. And they tell me to embrace a program that my life is unmanageable, and it truly is. And the thing I hated more than anything else in my life was that my life was unmanageable when I didn't drink, if I didn't use the tools that you gave me in meetings like this. And my life has gotten unmanageable in AA. I didn't go down all the right roads in all my life. I am no paragon of virtue. I don't moralize. I don't judge anybody in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's none of my business. I got enough to take care of how we hunt. You want to run with someone's wife or someone's girlfriend, or you don't like the coffee, that's your business. I don't care what you do. You want to fight about, you fight about. I go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings to stay sober. Live and let live. Mind your own business. It was taught to me by the experts. And they tell me that I have to ask this God of my choosing, to return me to sanity. That's right. We're not talking about the insanity of alcoholism. We're not talking when I smashed cars up and robbed stores at armed robbery, the things that I did to people I couldn't even tell in an AA meeting. I wouldn't even hurt my wife. They're not talking. They're talking about the insanity that someday I think I can drink again. The insanity I think that I don't have to go to this group anymore. Do you realize I have to be more careful in AA than somebody sitting here with 6 months of sobriety? Do you know how easy it would be to become complacent and smug with my sobriety? And the thought has crossed my mind, why don't you just retire, Howard? You go once a month, you say hello, it's been a long time, travel and all the rest of it. That's sick, that's insanity. So I make sure I get here once or twice a week, and I make sure I talk to drunks every day in that office of mine, one way or the other. And then they tell me that I have to turn my life and my will over to care of God as I understand Him. They're asking me, and you said it tonight when you started, you said that serenity prayer, and that serenity prayer said to me that I have to accept the things I can't change. I was sober 1 year, and I had to accept my wife dying in a hospital in childbirth, and I had nobody with me, and I was scared, and I wanted to run away, and they're saying to me, I have to accept that because I can't change that, and I accepted, and she lived. And when I was 6 years sober, you're telling me to accept the fact that they told me, our little girl had a brain tumor, she's going to be dead in 9 months? Is that what you want me to accept in AA? Yeah, you'll have to accept it because you can't change it. And that wife and I cried ourselves to sleep every night, and I was a mailman, and I got on my knees every day at the end of that route in the front of my God that I believed in, and asked Him not to change it, but give us the strength for that little girl and us and that family. We were so hurt and devastated, and the miracle happened. They made a mistake. Gail did not have a brain tumor. She had another birthmark on her brain. She's 40 years old today. I have a 13-year-old grandchild. Yeah, you said I had to accept that, and then you said something I didn't want to hear, and they said there's things in your life, how you have to change. If you think you're going to sit in AA and become comatose, and God's going to do everything, brother, you got a big problem. Oh, they tell me in AA, oh, if God wants to have me, give me a job, you'll send one down Tuesday morning. Don't wait for it, brother. Don't wait for it. God ain't paying the mortgage, and He ain't bringing up your kids. Tell you, and I told you last year, the guy in California told me, if you want to sit here tonight and think He's going to take care of it all, I'm going to tell you what you do tomorrow. When you get up tomorrow in the afternoon, if you feel hungry, go lock yourself in the closet, pray for a hot dog, and I'll tell you what, if he slips one through the keyhole, you call me, I'll be right over. I'm coming right over. Hazel said, how long are you going to talk tonight? I said, I'll try to get done in 45 minutes. She said, that's enough. I'm staying home with Teddy. I said, okay. She said, listen, and you're telling me, you damn right I have to change things in my life. Yeah. No, he's not going to do it. No, not in a long shot. And I better learn from you. And I better go to AMA and keep learning that I better get the wisdom to know the difference, because I get a little crazy, you see. Hazel used to tell the kids, he's like Ralph Cranley, he's buying the Brooklyn Bridge, he's doing that. Don't listen to him. 3 days, he forgets all about it. And this whole thing about alcoholism turned my whole life around. These men not only gave me their love, they gave me their hearts, they gave me their time. They did, Jesus, they crucified me. And I just went along with them, and they turned not only my life around, they turned my wife's life around, they turned my little girl's life around, they turned my other little girl's life around, they turned my son's life around. That they had a father, and after all these years, this poor kid from Brooklyn started to realize what love was all about. You see, I never knew what it was to love somebody unselfishly. I bought you a Cadillac, you see, and then I took them down the shore, and they lived there all summer long. And I became very successful in sales and made a lot of money, and became very good at what I did. And every time I did that for them, I told them I loved them, you see, and I never understood that my wife didn't need that. We lived in a furnished room, and I was sober, and that's the best I could have done. She loved me, you see, and I didn't understand that, you see. I thought I had to buy the things. And you're telling me that I have to accept things, that I have to turn these things over. See, that's the key about Alcoholics Anonymous. You got to turn them over. If you can't, you're not going to make it here. If you make it and you don't drink, you're going to be so miserable you wish you were drunk, you see. Because there's going to come things in your lives, and I don't wish anything on anybody, that you are not going to change it. They're going to murder you inside. You can't. And all the money and politics, and I've been through it all, are not going to buy it or change it. You're going to have to eat it and pray on it. And if we can't do that, then I am going to drink again. And I don't like that. And alcoholics don't like it, because I don't like emotional pain. And when it goes on too long, I hate it less, you see. And they said, look, kid, you got to grow up. They closed Disney World at 10 o'clock. You don't live over the candy store, hon. And you're telling me I have to do that? You're telling me we had to look for a kid for 18 years in the streets of New Haven that became an animal. That little girl of mine, an animal from alcoholism, from drug addiction, that sold her body on the streets, that her father would leave a meeting on Thursday night and she was on the corner, laying in the doorway half dead, and you're asking me to accept that. You know what happened, Holly, hon? I became a tough guy again. You see, I'm going to change it. Nobody does that to one of my kids. And I went back to the gun, and I went back to a lot of things I shouldn't have went back to. And I became the judge, the jury, and the jailer, that I'll kill her. That's what I'll do. And I'll kill the son of a bitch that's giving it to her, and I'll kill the rest of them. And cops used to say to me, Hunt, take it easy, please. I know you're hurting. I said, I'll kill them, I swear to God. Then I'd lay in bed at night, and I'm ashamed to tell you this, but I have to tell it to you. I'd lay in bed some nights. We wouldn't hear from her for 6, 7 months, didn't know if she was dead or alive. And some gangster friend of mine would call me and say she's in bad shape. You got to lock her up. She's going to die in the streets. And I would drop a dime on that kid. And those narco detectives would go to me and they'd drag her out. She'd spit in my face. She'd stay in a courtroom and say to me, "Pooh, you rotten bastard, you." And I put her away for 2 or 3 years, and then we went to sleep, and we were able to sleep for 2 or 3 years because I knew where she was. And I used to sit in the car and cry, you see, because I couldn't deal with that. And so I became the judge, the jury, and the jailer, and that's not right, you see. You don't do that, you see. Because what do? Kill them all in New Haven, and kill them up in Albany? Kill everybody, right? And one day that crushed all of us, and it crushed me, and I lost everything, and we lost everything. And I woke up one day in 1978, we had nothing left, only a little house. We had no money, we had no Cadillac, I had no job, we had no money in the bank. We had no summer home, we had nothing. And Patty was half dead. And I made a decision, I had to go away. They took me away and they put me in a drying out farm, sober. Thank God I was sober. I was sober 25 years, I was 47 years old. I went from the bottom all the way to the top in my small world. And it was all gone. I sat there and I cried and I couldn't go on no more. And Hazel said, "You need help." And she called Danny Ryan. He took me away. I was sober. You know how hard that was for me? I'm sober. You're crazy. That's what you are. You're nuts, aren't you? You're drunk. You're mentally drunk. You're going to kill yourself. And I used to lay in that bed some nights and say, "I'll get a gun. I'll kill everybody in the goddamn house. Is this what you get after being sober all these years? You got to take this. That wife of mine cry herself to sleep every night. I'll kill her and I'll kill everybody in the goddamn house." I was so sick, you see, because I couldn't accept that sickness of hers. You see, I was going to change it. I've changed everything in my life. I won. I did what I had to do, and I couldn't do that. See, but I'm stupid, you see. The first meeting you go to, you know what Alcoholics Anonymous tells you and me? You can't change anybody, honey. Your mother, your father, your kids, your wife. Who are you going to change? You're lucky you change yourself every day. They're right, and I forgot that. And they tell me I have to take an inventory, and they tell me I have to get a sponsor, and they tell me I have to admit to another human being what's wrong with me, and I went down to see the old man, and I did the fifth step, and I looked up, he was sleeping, he fell asleep, and I was rejected again, and I did it, and then they told me I had to become entirely ready, and they told me one day at a time. See, everything's one day at a time. I would get tomorrow and say the hell and die drunk. I don't know that. How do I know that? I'm sober. I don't know. I have no gift. And they told me I have to humbly, not the big shot hunt, not the big ego guy, the tough guy, humbly admit what's wrong with you. And I'm doing that with you tonight. I'm sharing with a piece of my heart with you, and I want you to take it. And I want you to take it home. Because I know, for me, what I'm talking about. I've been there, I have hurt, I have suffered like you in sobriety. I know that I'm still sober one day at a time, and God's love and God's grace saved this family. Patty has not had a drug or a drink in 2 years. She's sober and clean. The first time in 35 years our whole family's been together. We take trips to go up and see my wife's mother. My father died from alcoholism. My mother drank herself into a wet brain. She's in a hospital today. She's crazy. And every once in a while, when I have the courage, I go down and I tell her that I love her, and I say, I'll see you, Martha. She's crazy, you see. And so I do these things, and I try to admit when I'm wrong. I try to make amends. Not in a mea culpa. No, I don't want you to be a door. I'm no doormat for nobody. But there's times I walk away, and whatever you want to think about me, but there's times I have to walk away, because if I stay in, I'm going to get in trouble. So I walk away. The hell with you think? Yeah, I slap myself in the other cheek. I have to do that sometimes. For me, my own wife don't understand that once in a while, but I have to do it. See, because I know me. And they tell me I should do these things whenever possible. And they say you get sober on the first 3 steps in Alcoholics Anonymous, and you stay sober in the last 9. And they tell me to stay sober and to be a part of your wonderful fellowship. I have to continue to do that every day of my life. Every day of my life. And I have to admit to you, or myself, or to another human being, when I'm wrong. That's a very difficult thing sometimes. And they tell me that because I am what I am, somehow, in my own way, I have to seek, through prayer and meditation, to improve my conscious contact with this God that I believe in. And the only thing I ask him is give me the strength to follow your will. And then I'm standing here tonight, 700 miles from home, and I am doing what they asked me to do. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, I to carry this message to the fellow suffering alcoholics. Regardless if you want it or not, I must carry it. They told me if I do these things one day at a time, and if I walk in God's love and his grace and your love, I shan't worry about drinking one day at a time. This happened by accident, me being here at this time, but it's not really an accident. I didn't know I was going to be back from Florida. It just fell into place with my sponsor's 41st anniversary. I kid Jack a lot, because that's my sense of humor. The only thing that ever saved me in my whole life in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was always able to try to laugh. Because if I didn't laugh, I would have cried. And a woman said to me up in Hartford one night, she lost 2 kids within 6 months. They died in the streets. And her husband caved in and wound up in a mental institution. And in the space of 6 months, she had nothing but her sobriety. And she said to me, she said, Howard Hunt, mine was quick. She said, if I had your trouble, I would have got drunk. And I said, that's why God didn't give you my trouble. Because maybe if I had yours, I would have got drunk. And so, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank you for what you've done for me, one day at a time. There's no way I can repay that man sitting there. There's absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. There's no way I can repay the man to my right. He's been so kind and good to me, him and Ann. There's no way I can repay my wife. There's no way I can repay my children. The only way I can try to do that is to go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous and to stay grateful and to practice these principles in all my affairs. You see, it doesn't do any good if I walk out of here tonight and go to a restaurant and all of a sudden, why didn't you get my coffee? You're late, waitress. You see. What the hell are you doing, you bitch? and we all do it. And when I do it home, I'm wrong. That's what they talk about in all our affairs. Anybody can be good in these rooms. You're not doing me any favors. You didn't hurt me. You're going to be home good with your wife and kids, or whoever's around. I went about 5 minutes over because we got started late, and the hell with you, you're going to sit here for another 2 minutes. I ain't driving 750 miles to walk out of the hell with you. I want you to go home tonight, and if you're clean and you're sober, I want you to look in the mirror, and that's the grace of God. If you're young and you have a family, if you're middle-aged and you have a family, or if you're a grandpa like me and you have a grandkid or more, I want you to go to AA meetings, and I want you to work, and I want you to take care of them. I want you to go home some night and wake them up when they're sleeping. And I want you to pick them up and tell them you love them. I want you to play with them, take them to the park, spend some time. You'll never regret it. I'm going to ask you something. Is anybody happy that passed away today? Does anyone remember that you spoke to him today? The day is almost over and the toiling time is through. Is there anyone that uttered now a kindly word to you? Can you say tonight in parting that the day is slipping past, that you helped a single brother of the many that you passed? Is a single heart rejoicing over what you did or said? Does a man's hopes that were fading now with courage look ahead? Did you waste a day or lose it? Is it well or sorely spent? Did you leave a trail of kindness or star of discontent? As you close your eyes in slumber, do you think God would say, you know, you earned another tomorrow by the way you live today? And I want to thank you, and Brian, God bless you too. Thank you so much.